Creepiest abandoned zoos.
In today's video, we've got lost parks, forbidden islands, and sharks forgotten in Australia. Here are the creepiest abandoned zoos.
But before we get into today's video, make sure that you're subscribed and ring the bell so that you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Aug Park Zoo. The park is located in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and is still operational with a swimming pool complex and a museum, but there was once a zoo that opened here in 1920 and was regarded as a premier wildlife park. One of its best-known attractions was an Asian dancing elephant named Tilly and her donkey pal, Joshua. Years of alleged animal abuse, poor conditions, and reports of animals escaping led to its closure in 1988. The facility was reopened in 2003 as the Genesis Wildlife Center, but closed again in 2009 after claims of animal abuse persisted. Many dilapidated buildings of the once prestigious zoo are still intact and standing. Reiber Castle Wildlife Park. The hamlet of Reiber in Derbyshire, England, is the location of this former zoo. The castle was built in the 1860s as a country home, but over the decades it served in several different capacities. It was a boys' school in the 1930s. During wartime, it was used as a food storage facility. It lay dormant until the 1960s when it was repurposed as a wildlife park. We found that the zoo featured a variety of British and European animals, although we couldn't find many of the specific species listed. However, the facility was home to a population of lynxes that became kind of famous. After the zoo was accused of abusive practices, a group of animal activists released a number of the lynxes into the wild. That gave rise to sightings of a cryptid called the Beast of Reiber, an alleged phantom wild cat. By the year 2000, the zoo ceased operations, but the location has occasionally been featured in movies, including Dead Man's Shoes. Discovery Island. This place was once known as Treasure Island and operated as a place to view wildlife. When it was turned into a zoological park, it was renamed Discovery Island by its owner, the Walt Disney Company. Located in Bay Lake, Florida, the island is now abandoned. While it operated between 1974 and 1999, the island was open to guests of Disney World as an added attraction. Some of the major exhibits included alligators, vultures, capuchin monkeys, lemurs, and 5 Galapagos tortoises. Bird lovers were drawn by the most extensive breeding colony of scarlet ibis found in the US. After the park was shut down, the animals were relocated to Disney's Animal Kingdom. No signs of development have been noted since the island was deserted. Visitors are forbidden, but that hasn't stopped urban explorers from risking the wrath of Disney and trespassing. Belle Isle Zoo, Detroit. Sprawling more than 980 acres, this park was built on an island of Michigan in the Detroit River. Opening in 1895, the modest zoo contained a bear den and a deer park. The operation continued to grow, and by 1909, there were around 150 animals on display, including elephants and kangaroos. After visitors began favoring the nearby Detroit Zoo, Belle Isle was refashioned as a children's zoo in 1947. An expensive overhaul in the 1980s redesigned the zoo and provided visitors with wooden walkways placed over the animal enclosures. In 2002, the facility was closed as a cost-cutting measure for Detroit. Many abandoned buildings are being overtaken by plant life, but the area still attracts unofficial visitors like urban explorers and curiosity seekers. Did you know it provided locations for the 2011 movie Real Steel starring Hugh Jackman? Rosie the Shark. This segment centers more upon what was found at an abandoned Australian zoo than the facility itself, but the case attracted a lot of interest, so we have to include it. The operation was called Wildlife Wonderland and was located in the small town of Bass, Victoria. Along with kangaroos, koalas, and wallabies, the zoo featured a reptile area with crocodiles and large flight aviaries. Emus, cockatoos, parrots, and kookaburras were among the birds that were featured, but the defunct enterprise is now known for housing Rosie the Shark, who arrived there in 1998. She was a deceased great white that measured 4 meters and was kept in a tank filled with formaldehyde. When Wildlife Wonderland closed in 2012, Rosie and her tank were abandoned along with the park. She sat in a litter-strewn room until 2018 when an urban explorer found the location and posted a video on YouTube that went viral. After the video inspired an influx of trespassers, the park's owners arranged to have Rosie transported to another facility called Crystal World in 2019. It's an exhibit of crystals, fossils, and meteorites, among other artifacts, and while it's not a zoo, it's better than the alternative. According to various sources, Rosie was either headed to Crystal World or the landfill. Glasgow Zoo. At its peak, this zoo in Scotland was pulling in some 140,000 visitors every year. The 99-acre park was established in 1947 and had exhibits featuring African lions, white rhinos, and black bears. Other popular critters included tigers, polar bears, capuchin monkeys, golden eagles, and snakes, including boa constrictors. In all, more than 600 animals were featured at the zoo during its height of popularity. As the Edinburgh Zoo gained in popularity, the Glasgow Zoo saw fewer and fewer visitors. Dwindling attendance, along with large debts and limited public funding, spelled the end for this operation, and it closed in 2003. Since then, the area has fallen into severe disrepair, and the remaining buildings are unsafe for use. Did you know that the Glasgow Zoo's official website still remains active, though? Stanley Park Zoo. Here's a zoo that started small and worked its way up. Located in Vancouver, British Columbia, the zoo opened in 1888, featuring a single black bear that was chained to a tree stump. As it steadily expanded, the zoo contained 50 or more animals, including wolves, bison, kangaroos, snakes, and penguins. A polar bear exhibit constructed in the 1960s became the park's signature attraction and made the zoo a legit tourist attraction. Now that big concrete grotto is thought to be the only major remnant of this facility. Operations were shut down in 1997, and with the passing of a polar bear named Tuck, who was the zoo's last remaining animal. The grotto was intended for use as a salmon spawning hatchery, which seems logical given the enclosure's former occupant. Rhodes Zoo. Located in Cape Town, South Africa, this zoo was named for and designed by Cecil Rhodes. He was a famous businessman and politician who founded the De Beers Diamond Company and established the Rhodes Scholarship. In 1896, he started with a menagerie comprised of lions and a leopard. When he died in 1902, Rhodes left instructions for the creation of an animal park that was later known as the Groot Schuur Zoo. Admission was free, and the zoo remained a popular attraction until it closed in the 1970s. Among the many animals housed there were crocodiles, emus, and big cats. One of the main attractions was the lion's den that was constructed into the slopes of Table Mountain. It still stands today, although the building is now overgrown with vegetation. Encompassing about 5 acres, the abandoned facility actually remains open to the public. Franklin Park Zoo Bear Dens. The zoo encompasses 72 acres in Boston and officially opened to the public in 1912. It's still operating today and features more than 1,000 animal exhibits. So if it's still open, why is it on this list? Because part of it was abandoned in the 1950s. To find this location, you'll have to head outside the zoo's perimeter to nearby Long Crouch Woods. That is where you will find the remnants of bear dens. The cages were intended to hold various bear species, including polar bears and grizzlies. This area was shut down in 1958 and separated from the rest of the zoo as part of a cost-cutting measure. The dens were left to deteriorate, but many of the structures are still standing today. The ruins have become a popular site for exploration, but they also carry a reputation as the site of some unsavory activities. If you do plan on visiting, you are strongly advised to bring a friend. Two Guns Zoo. Names like Two Guns and Diablo Canyon sound like locations straight out of the Old West. In fact, these places are found in Arizona, about 30 miles east of Flagstaff. Now a ghost town, Two Guns is located on the rim of Diablo Canyon. In the 1920s, a store and gas station were built near a highway which would eventually become Route 66. A businessman named Harry Miller tapped into the flow of tourists by constructing several attractions, including a zoo. Located along the canyon's rim, cages were built from mortar, brick, and chicken wire. Animals on display included coral snakes, Gila monsters, birds, and mountain lions. Remnants of the zoo remained after the town declined in the 1970s, and it was eventually abandoned. However, it was reported by many sources in 2011 that actor Russell Crowe bought the ghost town with the intention of remaking Westworld there. The Zoo Project. Ibiza is well known for its beaches and nightclubs, but its zoos? Not so much. Yet there is an abandoned zoo on the Spanish island that isn't exactly abandoned. The Benimusa Park no longer contains wild animals, but you will find plenty of human party animals here on Sunday nights from May to October. Known as the Zoo Project, the former wildlife park has been turned into an entertainment carnival that features techno DJs and art performers across 5 main outdoor areas. A tree-lined pool area and a raving seal pit are among the most popular draws. To really help partiers get in the groove, there are makeup artists who can help you release your inner beast. Old Griffith Park Zoo. This facility is found in Los Angeles, where it opened to the public in 1912 with a grand total of 15 animals. The number of animals must have grown pretty impressively because at one point the zoo was attracting over 2 million visitors a year. But it was shut down in 1966 and replaced by the new LA Zoo, which is also located in Griffith Park. While the wild animals have long gone, it's not entirely abandoned. You can find plenty of human animals that come here to picnic and hike the trails. Ruins include animal enclosures with the bars removed, several of which have benches or tables already installed for visitors. Stairwells and caves also attract urban explorers and use the area year-round for dog walking and photo taking. Some people have complained that the abandoned zoo isn't abandoned enough. Since it's so close to Hollywood, the old zoo has appeared in many TV shows and movies, including Anchorman.